How are you, Danny?
I'm good. How are you, Joe?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm
Nice.
having a good week, you know. I
Nice.
think I'm having a good week.
It's good to be good.
Yeah. Yeah. Just catching up with things at the bike shop and beautiful weather here in Chicago.
Oh, amen. Amen.
Incredibly nice weather. So getting stuff done outside and getting stuff done at the shop. It's it's good.
Yes, I feel like we're just getting a little last treat from Mother Nature before
Yeah, these are
slam, bam, thank you, ma'am.
these are definitely like bonus days. It was 75 degrees here today. 75, 76 degrees. So
It totally feels like bonus days. This is just like, all right, you've been good. There's a little magic dust, little gravy.
mm-hmm.
I'm loving it. I'm loving it.
You get a chance to ride it all?
Yeah, I rode yesterday and the day before, just like quick 1 hour plus spins, like lakefront path kind of. Got out on the weekend for a little ride. Today I did not get out. I got out. I got out after work. I went for a ride on a divvy bike. I had to run an errand, and so I got out like just when the sun was setting. So there was still like some light out, but I got to enjoy a little bit of it. But yeah, what about you? Did you get out for a ride or what?
I did not get outside for a ride, but I did get on my trainer this morning.
Oh, look at you.
Yeah.
We're spoiled with these beautiful weather days. You're hitting up the trainer. I love it.
Well,
sign of the times, man.
I had to make a decision. Do I had a lot of outdoor things to do.
I'm not indoor shaming you, Joe.
No, but I had a lot of outside stuff to do today, and I actually received a shipment of bicycles today. And some Cannondale bikes. So I still do Cannondale bikes. So it's the one of the big bike brands that I do at the shop. And they sent over a pallet full of bikes. I don't know, it was 8-10 bikes, and I had to make some room for that, which meant shuffling things around. You know how tight things are at the bike shop. So.
You have to go outside to change your mind.
Yeah, exactly. So I took the opportunity to do some cleaning of the storage room and juggle things around and take stuff outside, and it was nice. It was actually nice. But since I knew I was going to be doing that, I figured I'd squeeze a ride in on the trainer, and it was good. It was the first real ride on there, first hour-long ride. And I haven't really used the trainer at all this summer, at least not since sometime in June. Zwift reminded me the last time I had ridden, or at least ridden indoors. So it required me to just do a bunch of updates, and things have changed in the world of Zwift over the summer, so...
How so? Beyond the firmware updates and whatever else, what's changed? Is it dramatic or just little tweaks or what?
No, it was. I mean, if you haven't been on Zwift in 3 months, it's different. The layout is a little bit like the interface of where the rides are different. They added they always add different routes. They have these make believe worlds. These
Watopia.
Mm-hmm. Oh wow! See, check you out, Watopia. So yeah, they have Watopia, but then they also have the, they added Japan recently, like some ride through Japan and, make-believe Japan routes. And what else do they have? They have some world courses, like courses of the, like world championship courses on there. So.
Do they include, I must ask Joe, sorry to interrupt you, but they include, and I don't mean this in an obnoxious way, but I mean it in a serious way. Do they include anything like, because in my line of work, we cover a lot of fintechs, these financial tech companies, and just anything like digital and what have you. But my question is, do they ever include has Swift tapped into this apparently this big market of almost like metaverse-y stuff where it's you're in this virtual world and you can have you can buy things in it, and it's how they make more money. So it's you can like add a jersey, like a kit to your avatar, or like my real question is like, can you like pull over at like a coffee shop and like buy like an espresso with like Zwift bucks, or do they have anything like that, or is that just not there yet? Because a lot of these like other games, especially the video games like Roblox, there's like a bunch of these games in these virtual worlds, and obviously that's what a lot of the tech companies are kind of pushing, this metaverse, where it's just like, you spend real money on these virtual things. And I don't know, I'm trying to wrap my head around it, because I think I'm on the cusp of like, I'm young enough to get it, but old enough to be like, meh, it's kind of lame. I don't know.
They make you, I don't know if they've added anything like that you can buy. So they make you earn points, like you earn points and you can go shopping for like socks and a jersey and customize your jersey. But those are those are things that you earn the more you ride.
Okay.
So, then you, but as far as I know, I don't think you can actually go in there and buy them. Like, I don't think it's available to buy yet, but they seem to be focused more on the hardware portion of it. They have a trainer now and they're trying to sell you things, actual hardware.
There's like the Swift fan, and there's like the Swift, like the rubber mat, which you could probably hack one from Home Depot for a few bucks, but they got like the branded one, and they got this and they got that, and I mean, they're just trying to make money. They're a business, but it is kind of funny. I saw that new I saw it all over my social feeds. What was it, a month or two ago? It came out, that new like trainer. It's like the $500 like kind of basic one. It's kind of more like simplified. You just like throw your bike on there, as opposed to like I think the Kicker was the more like advanced one. That was like a couple grand.
Yeah, I think they're getting, I believe there's a lawsuit right now about that particular
I saw
trainer.
that.
Yeah. So, well, everything is kind of focused around the hardware right now. I don't know that I shouldn't say that they don't have the resources to get into meta yet, but that seems like the logical place to take this, like at some point.
Yeah, it does. And, you could see possibilities for it for sure. I mean, I actually thought Strava might do something like that, or they might collab on something. I'm surprised they haven't. I mean, maybe they have. I'm not aware of it, but as far as I know, they haven't collabed, and maybe that's like a big strategic thing. But I could see Strava and like Swift, the two big players in like digital virtual cycling, doing some like crazy big collabs.
I think
it hasn't happened yet, but who knows? Maybe it's in the works. We don't know.
It's a little tricky right now because I think a lot of that is kind of like goggle driven, or like, where you actually have to put those big things on your face. I don't know how easy it would be.
Which suck to wear, as far as I've heard. Even the new ones from like Meta, aka Facebook, like I hear they're kind of still big and clunky, and like you're gonna wear that thing for 8 hours or a 2-hour hard group ride, like
Yeah.
That could be kind of annoying, but they're like with the kids, like in the Roblox and these different like meta worlds and virtual games, like there's all these like digital bucks, and like I just hear my friends complaining, like, yeah, my damn kid, like, the parents' credit card is like synced with that, and it's like, damn, I got this bill for like $50. This kid's buying all this stuff in the metaverse, and it's all just like digital, like t-shirts and sneakers, and he's like, oh, so it's a weird time we live in, man.
Yeah, I'd be in all sorts of trouble, I think, if I was a teenager at this
What
time,
would you be buying?
I have no
virtual bucks.
I have no idea, but
some Herc records, some vinyls, or what?
I've always thought of the young me currently. I was 10 years ago, 15 years ago, I thought I'd probably be a hacker or something. I'd be something in that world.
But a hacker for good, right? Like, there's like good hackers who like good faith, like they hack for like good reasons, and then there are like bad hackers. And there's like people in the middle. There's like this whole thing like hack to return. Have you heard this? Like they like break into like company and like government systems to show them that they're like hackable. And then it's like, pay us and we'll like give you like what we learned. And it's a crazy world we live in, man.
Yeah. Although we kind of had that, remember War Games?
Yeah. So, the best movie ever made. Was that Matthew Broderick?
That was Matthew Broderick. Yeah.
Of course it was Matthew Broderick. Duh.
Yeah.
The 80s, the 80s guy who was in every 80s movie that
And
was
Ali
worth watching.
Sheedy, right? It was that Ali
Oh, Ali
Sheedy.
Sheedy. There's a good throwback.
Ali Sheedy, yeah.
Do you want to play a game? Is that it?
Yeah. The original, one of the original hackers.
They were in that big make believe like Star Wars looking like control.
I always wanted one of those computers where you have the big giant roll that you have to like go plug in another room. Like the computer was the size of a room, you know.
Which now we have on our phone, and the phone's like 10 times more powerful.
Yeah.
And it was like that very tense moment. But what a great movie. I remember at the time that was so like groundbreaking, and I was like, oh, this is the future.
Yeah.
I can imagine a young Elon Musk looking at that.
Yeah, it probably motivated him to do what he's doing now.
Now he's buying companies he can't afford.
Yeah.
Looking for $8 from folks.
Yeah.
Oh my God, it's a funny world. But anyway, good to hear you got on the trainer, because I believe pedaling is pedaling. I was happy to get out a little bit, not much. Of course, you never got out as much as you like, but no, the weather has been insane. Yeah, I'm just milking it.
Yeah, milk it, man.
We'll see how it goes, man. We got daylight saving time this Sunday, so maybe it'll help our cause to get out and pedal a little bit, pedal against the darkness, as Dylan Thomas might say, rage, or pedal against the light. Yeah, I mean, it's been good. Like I'm happy with, like, I finally got my bike dialed. Just talking about me, like I'm just really getting into the groove now. Like I got a couple of routes that I do as my defaults, and just try to get out as much as I can during the week. And then it's all about just the weekend. And I haven't forgotten, Joe, we're going to do a ride before this year is done.
Yeah, it'd be nice, man. It'd be nice. I found some knickers the other day.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Were you walking around the house with them on, or what?
I didn't quite get to the point of trying them on, but I did find them, and they look like they're going to fit. So
it was Halloween, so I'm just asking.
Yeah,
for a friend.
no, I could have gone as I don't know, Peter Pan or something with those. Thanks for listening to the Bike Shop Society podcast. If you'd like to get in touch with us, email us at mail@bikeshopsociety.com. If you're on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, you can look us up at Bike Shop Society. That's it. Get in touch with us. We'd love to hear from you. Now, back to the show. Goodbye.
I saw some highlight on YouTube talking about these like candy snatchers. So the Ring doorbells are showing people like stealing candy. And it was like parents with and without kids. They would go up with their, like, someone actually had a literal like pillowcase.
Really?
and grabbed like handfuls, and then just decided to pour the whole bucket of candy in.
Wow. And
they showed a series of these. I'm like, oh, I'm so appalled. I'm like, this is horrible. This is candy for like kids. Like, take one or two and go.
Yeah.
And they were like taking it all. And then in a couple of instances, the highlight of the little reel was you hear the voice from inside. Hey, we saw that. Put that back. And they're like freaking out. They're pouring it all back. We live in a building where people don't really come here. I don't know why. I mean, we always try to have some candy to give folks. Like I got a big bag of those like snack size, like Almond Joys and stuff. But we didn't really have anyone. So I'm not sure how it works on this block. Everyone lives in like a 4 flat or something.
I think kids, in the city, I remember, as a kid, you knew where to go, and you were very efficient about your trick or treating, because it was like you knew what blocks, which ones were the good blocks, which ones had the stairs where there was a lot of climbing, and apartment buildings were always kind of bad because they were hit or miss. People were home, not home. You'd wait a long time, So I think kids loved that single family home where the light was on, and you knew those blocks because you could just like, if you're in the city, you just hit them one after the other, and
especially if they had like decorations out front and a little light on, like that was just like ching ching ching, like you might get a full size like candy bar.
Oh yeah, and the word would get out too, right?
None of that bullshit like apples or like a nickel, none of that shit. Like a full Kit Kat, Almond Joy, whatever.
Every once in a while, there were people that would give out a full candy bar, and that place would get hit hard.
Oh yeah,
the word would get out pretty fast.
Word would get out. You tell your friends. Hey, man.
Yeah. You'd run to the next block for that one.
I was at my buddy's place, and we went for a beer run, and the they actually sell packaged goods from the bar.
Mm-hmm.
So we went in there to get some packaged goods to go, and in walked a young woman who was wearing a unicorn costume. And I looked over and I was trying to think of a punchline, like a unicorn walks into a bar. I couldn't think of a good one. So if any listeners have one,
yeah,
that was the coolest costume I saw, because like she actually put kind of like thought into it.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, I didn't really see any great costumes. I don't know. Hopefully it comes back. I feel like maybe I was in the wrong place or whatever. I was just hanging with some friends, but I feel like maybe it's pandemic related. But you know, Halloween used to be always like that really cool like holiday. Like it's kind of like a holiday for grown-ups. Because like you put thought into like a costume.
Mm-hmm.
If you have a partner, you kind of do a cool partner one. You go to like a cool backyard party if the weather's good. You kind of party a bit. You know, it's kind of like a fun, cool night out. You can kind of like let your freak fly.
Oh yeah.
Etc. And you know, there aren't really many holidays like that.
Not here. No, we don't have a lot of really good ones for that. Not not in America. In Europe, you got a lot of good ones like that. I mean, you get 3 or 4 good swings at the at the ball.
at the piñata.
with parties like that, or things where you can get, you dress up as a whatever, garbage man or clown. In Spain they have gone full in on Halloween. That was a holiday that did not exist at all over there. Like Halloween is kind of a truly American holiday.
No, for sure.
But it's a world party now. It's
just, for better or for worse, right? Yeah. It's a world party. Like I even see some of my cousins from Ireland who live in Ireland on their Instagram. Like their kids are all dressed up. They're posting all these photos of their kids in costumes and stuff. Like I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure they didn't have quite like that version of it growing up. I know Guy Fawkes was a holiday I always heard about. I think I'd have to look this up or fact check myself, but I believe that was like at least some connection to Halloween, or our origin for Halloween was Guy Fawkes. I think it was a UK British thing, if I'm not mistaken. But long story short, like I don't remember them celebrating, at least when I was there as a kid. Not that I was ever there over the Halloween weekend or what have you. But I know now it's become like a thing they just kind of celebrate, and something that's kind of similar in some ways is Thanksgiving. Because I know that some countries, I know that obviously it's a very American thing by its own like origin, of course. And I know that too is very controversial, but I know that some countries actually do celebrate. They have their own kind of version, like not nationally or officially, but I know some people in Europe do celebrate Thanksgiving, and not just Americans.
Really?
Yeah, for sure.
Like on the same day? Like a Thursday? Really?
Like on the same day or right around the same day? Because it's become like this thing where it's lost its original meaning. And it's just become like this time to like celebrate, because everyone kind of, like you said, like Spaniards look for a reason to party. I feel like because of that global party, people are kind of like, oh yeah, Thanksgiving, like the Yanks, maybe they got something cool going on.
We are kind of a cycling podcast.
Come on, Joe. We are the cycling podcast. Not to be confused with the actual cycling podcast, which is a name.
Yeah,
but
that was a real one. Yeah,
an actual one, but which is great, by the way. If you guys don't know the cycling podcast, check it out. It's awesome. If you want racing, check out the cycling podcast. Daniel Freeb and some others, they do it, and they do a killer job. I love it.
We have that Festive 500, right? That Rafa does that the Festive, right? It's like,
are you gonna do it?
I might. I'm the trainer. I might. I don't know if I'll do it outdoor. Every day outdoor if the weather permits. I'm sure.
You got to do it outdoor. Come on, let's do it. Let's do it together.
Trying to do 500K in 7 days is, it's not undoable. I remember I stumbled on it the first year. I got the trainer out, and I thought, I had about a month and a half into riding after not riding at all for a very long time, and I thought I was going to attempt it, and then I realized no, maybe next time. And
now is next time.
70K average, right? A little bit more than 70K a day. You pop a couple of really big ones in there.
Which is what, 50 miles?
Yeah, a little bit. 40, so 49, yeah, 42. Yeah, less than 50, 40, 45 miles or so.
Fill up your water bottle with some tea, a little bourbon, get a little sandwich in your back jersey pocket. You're fine. Just ride, man.
I'll try. I think I will give it a shot this year.
Oh, now you got me interested. Now I kind of want to do it. If you're going to do it, I'm like, I want to do it.
But do you get something? I mean, they don't give you anything. It's not like you get a free jersey or anything, right?
Listen to you.
I want something.
What do you get?
What do you get? Give me something.
Give me some digital Rafa bucks.
Yeah, give me something.
You get the satisfaction and the pleasure, and you can humble brag on the internet's like, yeah, I did the Rafa 500. So Rory Jack, who is someone who has listened to this podcast, I mentioned him last time. He is a Rafa employee. He works at the Rafa store in Chicago and Wicker Park on Milwaukee.
You think he'll give us something?
Well, I don't know about that, but I was just going to say that I know he's done it, and he usually posts on Instagram when he's doing it to kind of like drum up some some hype for it, which is cool. And he's done some epic rides. He's like this crazy talented cyclocross racer. And does like gravel too, I think. But anyway, like he always does it, and like that's where I'm most aware of it. That's where I see it the most on my feeds around Festivus time. It's kind of like Rafa 500. If you do it, Joe, I'm gonna have FOMO, so I'm gonna have to do it too. So I would be keen on doing it as well. But I will try to do as much of it as I can outside. Well, obviously the weather will dictate some of that, but if I have to, I'll just do the indoors on my rollers and what have you. But it sounds like a fun, motivating thing, and also just break up the monotony of like winter training or whatever you want to call it. Like, just it's something. I love a ridiculous like number. Just like pick a number. It's kind of arbitrary and just like hammer it out. Like I think sometimes that's just fun for the brain and for like the body. Like just do something ridiculous. Like I love going for like a super long ride that I could barely finish. It's just like fun. It's just like, oh, I just rode 100 miles. Like I had no way of finishing that, but I somehow scraped by and stopped at the gas station 10 times for like Snickers and, Gatorades. But I did it. And like, I think those like are fun to do once in a while. So I'm all for it.
Yeah, it's a good goal. It gives me enough time. Like it gives me something to kind of aim at between now and the end of December.
Which is, if you think about it, we're only talking about, 8 weeks-ish?
Yeah, I mean, I think in 8 weeks I could knock out 70K a day, maybe.
It's gonna come up fast,
without cramping up into a ball.
It's gonna come up fast.
Yeah, real fast. It's good timing for me. My wife usually is visiting her parents back home, so it's kind of, I could do it if it's a snowy Tuesday. I could jump on at 11 o'clock in the morning and just sit there and pedal for 5 hours mindlessly.
See, I can't do that. Like when you say that, do you really understand and appreciate what that means? I can't do that. Like you would have to pay me a Powerball jackpot to do that. Like I don't think I could quite do that.
I mean, I don't think that I don't. I mean,
5 hours, like my crotch. After an hour, I'm like, oof.
It's been a very long time since I've sat on a trainer for 5 hours. I think the last time I did it, my dad would, it was like in a garage. My dad would come out and like look at me and just shake his head. Like, you're still out here? Like, get a job. What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? They're hiring at Kohl's.
Do you need to see someone? My friend's a shrink.
Yeah. Oh man, this kid.
So. Well, I don't know. I think I'm so glad you mentioned this. It's motivating me already. I'm looking forward to it. And, it'll help in a lot of ways. It helps leverage some of that holiday eating and partying and this, that, and the other. And
it's brilliant marketing on their part. Because I mean, this has been going on for years now. It's become
total marketing, but it's brilliant. Because it's kind of like cool because you associate it with Rafa. I do.
Yeah, it's a thing now. It's like, it's just something, I mean, it's got to be over 10 years. I don't know how long this thing has been going on now, but
yeah,
I mean, it's, just looking on their website, I didn't see anything that notes how many years or which version it is of the Festive.
There is this guy named Jeff Kornblue who is dude, I'm still kind of in touch with on social. excuse me. He was someone I knew in the New York City area. I don't know if he lives in Jersey these days or is more up north. But anyway, he was like at all the cyclocross races and stuff, and he's like this cool guy. I think now he's doing a lot of youth development with like cycling and racing and stuff. Total mensch, good guy. But if I'm not mistaken, he did this death ride, and I think my friend Ian Landau did it as well. But bottom line is they would ride, I think they would ride on New Year's Eve or New Year's Day, but they would ride like 200 miles
Really?
outside.
Wow.
One ride. So they'd get up like 4 a.m. They'd set out, before dawn, and they'd have their group and all their lights blinky, and they would just ride like all day and night, and they would get home like in the evening, and it was just like this super long crazy ride, and they called it the death ride. And not everyone finished it. It wasn't a huge group, but there were some epic stories from that, and it wasn't like an easy stroll. Like to finish, like your challenge is the daylight. Like you don't have, no matter how fast you're going, like you're gonna run out of daylight.
Yeah, depending on where you're at. I mean, the weather.
And they would have some gnarly weather. They did it in the rain sometimes, and like you're talking about like Christmas or New Year's and East Coast. Anyway, those kinds of rides, I kind of love those. I never did the death ride myself. I did some watered down version of it, but I think those are fun. And obviously the Rafa 500 isn't quite the same, but it's still very challenging. And I think we should do it.
Hello, I'm Stene Wandel from Belgium, and you are listening to the Bike Shop Society podcast.
Danny Gravel is dead.
Oh wait, Gravel's dead. I didn't get that news brief.
I did. I got the message recently.
Oh, sugar! What happened? Did it just deflate like a bad tire?
Yeah, the people that are out there are kind of like the arbiters of cool. They've just kind of declared it dead. Also, just being in the shop, what I'm seeing now is like it's now just the everyman's road bike. I sell more, gravel bikes to people that just want to ride the road than anything. These people are not riding gravel necessarily. They're riding the road on a bike that was kind of marketed as a gravel bike. But it's just much easier and comfortable for them. So they're riding that versus a 25C road bike. It's kind of like your bike, where you can fit a 32 in there. It's, and once you ride with a 32 for the average person, you're not going down to a 23 or a 25 ever. Why would you?
You never go back.
You never go back. Nobody ever comes into the shop and says, make my tires smaller.
Make them smaller and harder, please.
Yeah, nobody ever comes into
Please
that.
make them more uncomfortable and dodgier.
Yeah, nobody. Oh, everybody always wants to fit a fatter tire in their bike, but nobody ever comes back and says, look, switch it back. Make it really, uncomfortable and small.
This is too comfortable and fun. Please make it more awkward and uncomfortable. No, 100%. And it's crazy. I mean, if you think about it, and I know this is easy to say in hindsight, but if you have to pick like a perfect bike, like the gravel bike, and I use that loosely, like I consider my bike kind of in this category too, but the kind of ideal, if you have to have one bike, like it's kind of like that bike. It's road frame set-ish, but it's got like pretty fat tires. You can put drop handlebars, or if you want to get fancy, you can put something else on there. Maybe there's some version of suspension, whether it's an ISO speed type thing or a dropper post or whatever. Like you can play with it, but generally that bike is you can do it. You can make it work. You could put those narrower tires on if you want to do some road group rides, some long like road rides. If you want to just put on some fat tires and just get off road, take it on certain off-road trails, single track, depending on the nature of whatever. Like you can kind of do it all with that if you're going to do like one bike. So it is kind of perfect. Yeah.
From what I'm seeing, like originally I had like, there was a bike called a Salsa Warbird that, Salsa had a lot to do with the branding and kind of making gravel bikes a popular thing. I don't know that they were necessarily the first company to use the term, gravel bike. but they were early. If they weren't the inventors of it, they were probably the first big company to market or make it a kind of a common word in a bike shop, gravel bike. I remember us making fun of the term when we got one at the shop. We're like, "Ooh, gravel! You can ride the gravel with a bike," and but those first versions of the gravel bikes had a lot of bosses, for attaching, bottles and bags and all sorts of things. And what I've noticed lately is that those bosses are starting to disappear. So the bikes are starting to get cleaned up. Like some of the bike companies are realizing that nobody's really using all those bosses. And the bikes are starting to look a lot more like traditional road bikes with room for a fat tire. I mean, if you were to put a road tire on some of these bikes and you didn't have a keen eye, you just swear it's a road bike. But if you look real close, you realize, whoa, but there's room there for a wider tire, and it's a little slacker. But for the average person, it looks like, if I on some of these bikes that are coming in with the gravel, designation assigned to them, if I were to put like a 28C road tire on that bike, it would look exactly like a, what 3 or 4 years ago was considered a regular road bike. So, it's just, it's for on the retail side, that's what it's looking like these days, that the gravel bike has now just become kind of the everyman's road bike. And, the road bikes, the racing bikes, right? The competition bikes are kind of finding their way to a corner, I would say, in a lot of bicycle shops, just kind of a smaller section. That started happening with like triathlon bikes in bike shops, where triathlon bikes slowly disappeared from your average bike shop and went into like specialty stores. The traditional racing bike seems to be going that way, because I don't have a lot of people coming in these days looking for a full-on race bike,
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. I saw this guy yesterday. I was out for a ride, short ride, and I was at the light coming home a few miles away, and he kind of rolled up. And if you ride a lot, you just know that sound. So you hear that cassette doing the clickety clickety click, and you can almost like tell what kind of bike it is. It's like, and he was really like strong looking, like tall, thin, looked pretty fit, and he had on really deep carbon wheels. Like I don't know if they were 60s or 80s or what, but he had like a full on road bike, and he was fully lean, and like he was like racer boy. And it was just kind of funny. Like I was kind of like on my Madone, which I've got kind of set up now for like comfy, riding. If I want to go off road a little bit, I can do that. If I want to ride road, I can do that. I'm kind of like in my cutoffs, and I'm in my like, I have clipless pedals set up, but I have like the chrome sneakers, what have you. More of the chillax, road guy, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, he like pulls up, and like I saw a shadow of my former self, in a sense. And he pulled up, and he had like the full like he was in like kind of race mode, and
wow,
it felt a little aggressive coming off the lakefront, but I'm not judging. It was just like, wow, like I know it in some point, in the past I've definitely been that guy. And the light changed, and he clicked in, and he just like sprinted away, and clearly like a very high performance kind of setup. And but it was just kind of funny too. Like I guess I'm saying, like it just seemed like kind of funny to see someone that like hyper, like someone that aggressive or performance oriented in that environment.
Yeah.
And it's fine. Like he was out doing his thing. Maybe he was doing some intervals. Maybe he was just chilling. But he had this like super high end aero carbon road bike with like 808s or something close to it. Like he was full on like pro tour looking.
Yeah.
And I'm like, hey, fair play to you. This guy's doing his thing. He's looking good. But I was like, yeah, it's just funny now. Like it almost seems like an anomaly in terms of like most people now I see riding, they have like a, they have like a handlebar bag, and they're kind of like fatter tires, and they're kind of like more casually dressed. And we've talked about this a lot.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it was just kind of like, it just kind of hit me in like a second. I was kind of like, oh, this guy's like super into like his thing, but I'm not seeing a lot of this. Whereas I think, like, again, this is unscientific and informal, but every year, if I go back and back, I would see more and more of that, as it were. But I'm seeing less of it now. Like, I'm seeing less of that. And maybe, again, maybe this was just like a one-off, but I don't see as much of that anymore. Like, people like fully kitted, super, super dedicated. Like, he was like in his mode and his zone. And I was just kind of like, I feel like he's kind of like keeping this racer boy alive.
Well, back in the day, Danny, that was, people that were riding road bikes on the lakefront were that, right? We were that, right? I mean,
that was like the default.
Yeah. That was like the default look. And now I think our cycling community has kind of matured a little bit. There's a little bit of, and that urban cyclist, well, you're in Chicago. So, that urban cyclist, that urban look is certainly winning out now. But back in the day, if you saw somebody on a road bike, it was usually in the city. It was a messenger on a fixie, or it was a bike racer. Sometimes that messenger was a bike racer. So, it was we were the only ones on a road bike. Everybody else was on a hybrid or a mountain bike, right? Your casual cyclists were on mountain bikes or hybrids of some sort, definitely not on a road bike. And now I guess, now you see people on road bikes in casual gear and cutoffs and, kind of like you.
I'm the guy.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully I'm not the poster boy, but no, it is funny. And it kind of goes back, at least in my mind, like what you're talking about earlier, like you don't really sell high-end road bikes, like straight road race bikes. And I do appreciate the difference between road bikes and road race bikes, which Matt Phillips made. He works for Bicycling, a long time cycling journalist. I think he made a really good point. Let's stop calling road bikes, race bikes, because they're really not. But I looking back, I feel like it was kind of interesting. And to be fair, this guy was like cool. Like, he gave me like a little nod, like, hey, we gave it a hey, kind of like the whole thing. Because you could tell like I was kind of like a roadie, but like, he's like in a little different mode. So it was all good. But I guess looking back, it just kind of struck me because like I see fewer and fewer of these guys now. Like they're around. I'm not saying they're not around, but like I don't see as many of them. So when I did, I was kind of like, oh, like what are like the racers riding now? And like, he had like a pretty aggressive like wheel set, and like, he had this tiny little like saddlebag. Like, he was out for like performance.
I know you don't understand. How could I spend $5,000 on a bike? You think that's absurd? Well, there's only one answer, and there's only one word. It's performance. I don't think you understand. Riding with finesse is more than track stands. I got a word of advice for all of you hipsters. Go and get yourself some brakes and some shifters. I dropped 2 G's on my Dura Ace. Cat 1 racer, now I'm setting the pace. My brakes are tuned up, I can stop on a dime. When I'm in the pack, I'm always holding my line.
It was kind of interesting to see that, and it definitely felt like he's F1. And I don't know what I am, but like he's F1. He's like he's on the circuit. He's MotoGP.
You're more like NASCAR.
Well, thank you. I'll tell you the compliment. I was going to say Pee Wee Herman.
No, I'll give you NASCAR. You're on a track. You're like on a, it's a real legit bike.
I'm thinking Talladega Nights.
Yeah.
Shake and bake.
Yeah, still motor. You still got pits. Still a lot of money in the car. All that stuff. A little bit more relaxed. Baggier clothes.
Still have 2 water bottle cages.
Yeah, I
might have a couple extra snacks in there. But yeah, sign of the times. It was all good. It was just kind of funny because I was thinking about it. I'm like, why was I like so interested in like that scene? And and it was like I haven't seen someone on such a aggressive aero road race machine, and it's all good. It's all good. We welcome all kinds. It was just kind of funny. Maybe ties into this general like vaguer theme of like, this trend. We're seeing a lot less like high end super road racy gear and bikes, and more of just like this, like, hey, like let's go out. We can have a good ride. We could pedal hard, but and again, I'm not talking about that class of people who like do like racing on the weekends and the cross scene and all that, which is super cool. But more just like the everyday folks who kind of go out.
Yeah, the lines here are a little blurred. You can kind of cross from road racer or road bike rider to gravel, but my friends, the friends that I follow in Europe, they're in camps. They're very hardcore camps. You got the road guys and you've got the kind of gravel touring guys, and they don't really mix. There's not a lot of interaction between the two of them. In fact, sometimes the camps are very distinct, maybe in different places. I mean, I'm not talking for everybody out there, but I see some real distinct lines, even just in their, just the stuff that they post.
So like you're in one or the other, you can't be in both, or at least dressed the part or something.
Yeah. It just seems like, you're part of their gang. You're not part of our gang. They're just very insular that way.
Yeah, I can see that. I definitely feel like, I don't know what it is about cycling, but it reminds me of I think the first Bike Snob book. He's written at least 3 kind of bike snobby books, and then I know he has like a 4th book on like maintenance. But I don't know if you ever read any of those. I think I have each one, but it was kind of like a field guide to cyclists, and he kind of like breaks down like each kind of cyclist. And Bike Snob is obviously kind of tongue in cheek. He's kind of a humorist, whatever. But he did have like a page or 2 on like each kind of cyclist. And as you're talking about that, it kind of reminded me like the rigidity between, the different kinds of cyclists.
Yeah. The tribes, right?
It's like, his thing was, I'm just paraphrasing, this could be made up, but it was something, the spirit of it was something like, you're a road race cyclist. You don't talk to like mountain bikers.
Yeah.
You don't even look or associate with like, cyclocrossers, just like whatever. It's like everyone's like so hardcore in their camp. And a lot of it again was tongue in cheek. But as you were talking about that, that's what it reminded me of.
Yeah, so I service a lot of the mountain bike trails here at the shop, and I still get a lot of that reaction, like like that roadie, like, oh, they're roadies, I still hear that. On a Saturday, it's not uncommon. It's like, oh, he's a roadie. Oh, he's a like,
right. Which to me just sounds like he's a douche. He's a 1%er.
It's exactly that, and it's with that attitude too. Which was for me was a little hard to, because I was coming from the roadside. So when I opened the bike shop and I would hear that, it was like
insufferable, hoity-toity, smug, like.
Yeah.
I'm a road cyclist. Like I'm a road racer.
Yeah, when I opened the bike shop, everybody just assumed I was into mountain bikes because I opened a bike shop on the mountain bike trails. But my background was road, really.
One of those guys.
I was one of those guys. I think it was years until they figured out that all I did was really primarily ride a road bike and not really do a lot of mountain biking. And I was accepted. By then I was friends with a lot of them, but for years I'd hear it all the time about, like I was like, they didn't know that I was a road guy, and the way they would talk about roadies, I just shave your legs, and like, hey.
Do you want a little news roundup, Joe?
Yes, absolutely. I was wondering, I wasn't going to poke you about it, but I think from now on, I'm just going to expect it. I'm going to expect the news roundup, Danny.
Please poke whenever you want.
All right.
So in terms of not a ton of news, I feel like it's a little quiet, and we're transitioning into like winter, especially daylight saving coming up Sunday. But probably the biggest news, as I can tell, and I'm not like super tuned in at the moment, but biggest news I could tell is the news about Nairo Quintana, aka Nairo Man. He appealed his case. He tested positive twice for a banned painkiller at the Tour de France, and he was subsequently disqualified. So he lost his appeal. So he has been told to, just give it up, and he doesn't have a team for next year. He's 32 years old, so it's an interesting time for him. I don't know. I feel like it's just super sad. That's just my obvious kind of take, I guess. I just feel like it's super sad, and whatever he was doing, you know how these things go, Joe. We've seen a million of these. Ryder claims this, and the tests show this, and it's just a shame, and it's sad, and it kind of hit me a little bit deeper than most of these cases, because I really like Nairo. He's like, I really, really liked him, and I thought, and I think we've talked about him on this show in the past too, but he seemed to be having kind of a resurgence, and now maybe we know why. But oh man, just terrible. So he lost his little appeal, and yeah, it just sucks. That's just kind of like the main racing news, unfortunately.
So he lost the appeal, and he's without a team currently right now,
yeah,
right? And it doesn't
exactly.
look. You're thinking it doesn't look good for him to find a team, you think?
I mean, after that, for someone to sign him, I mean, he could get on a team. I mean, we've seen crazy shit in cycling. Anyone who's followed this sport has seen the craziest shit. I could see him getting on for lack of a better word, like a subpar team, a sub-tier team. Mm-hmm. I definitely don't see a World Tour team or Pro Continental team, or even maybe he could land on a Continental team somewhere, but it doesn't look great. I just feel like it would be horrible if he went out this way. I don't know. It's sad, and I really personally just liked him, and I was a big fan of him, and I loved his quiet style. Spoke with his legs. There was that famous meme where it was kind of like the 8. What was it? It was something like the 6 or 8 faces of Nairo Quintana. Like no matter what state he was in, like pain, joy, it was always the same expression. Kind of a famous meme. I always liked that about him. Like he was Mr. Consistency, and just this like small, compact kind of climber. And it just sucks, if he cheated, then I don't have any sympathy for him really. But just on a personal fan level, it's just it's not great. And at this point, who knows what's going to happen to him? So I'll be very interested to see in the next few months if he gets re-signed with anyone.
Yeah, he's also like, how old is he? He's got to be in his
32.
He's 32. Yeah, I mean that's going to be tough.
Yeah, and especially these days, it's pretty rare. Knock on wood, it's pretty rare to hear of a very high, big name. Like he's one of the top 10 biggest names in cycling. Full stop. Like in the World Tour, to hear someone getting popped, like that, like I can't remember last time someone really big got popped. It's been that long. So hopefully that reflects very rigorous testing and doping controls, and we're not, missing something. But it's been a very long time. I can't remember the last really big name at the highest World Tour level that was popped.
The conspiracy side of me makes you think, like, it can't all have just gone away all of a sudden, right? That nobody's doping, and the one guy they happen to catch is Nairo Quintana, and it's for tramadol, which is like, something my dad takes, for pain. Yeah. So it just seems kind of I don't know. Seems like maybe a convenient person to bust too, right? Because he's kind of a big name, but also not a lot of consequence if he goes down. And I don't know. I know that there has been a lot of talk about, just the a lot of suspicion out there, and kind of everyone. There are people wondering what is going on. All these years in cycling, there's always, there hasn't been a time that you and I have been into cycling where people have not been doping, whether, it's been more high profile at other times and at certain times than others. But, for as long as we've been around the sport, there's always been, people kind of pushing the limits of what they can get away with. And it's kind of hard to believe that, over the last 2 or 3 years that it's gotten cleaned up that much.
It's I don't know. I'm ultimately just sad about it. I don't know what to say about it. I just hope things don't end this way for Nairo. If he made some bad decisions, took a painkiller when he shouldn't have, and he effed up. But other news, Joe.
Yes.
Did you know, Joe? Did you know about heated trousers?
For cycling?
Yes.
Really?
So there is an article at Cycling Weekly, cyclingweekly.com. It came out this week and came out today, published 9 hours ago. The headline is, "Are heated trousers cycling's next marginal gain? Our data scientist investigates." So basically what you have here, you can buy a pair of heated trousers so that if you're competing, you do your turbo trainer warm up. The whole idea is to get your body warmed up, like literally, and get the muscles warmed up, get them loose, and get them firing so that when, you take the start, you're ready to go. So this is supposed to be at least one benefit is it's the bridge from that to when you actually start racing, because there might be like 5, 10, 30 minutes between the trainer session and your actual ride. So that's kind of the thing. They look a little bit absurd, but apparently these are kind of a thing. I think this is probably going to be for the real hardcore folks who want to try every single new advantage. There's like a whole kit that you get with it. There's like a power adapter. There's like a charger. There looks like a battery kit. And apparently they work pretty well. So the thing is, they're 400 pounds, which these days with parity on the USD, I think they're probably around $400. So those are a thing. I didn't realize these are a thing until I saw that article. Could you ever see yourself wearing heated trousers, Joe?
Old Joe would have tried anything, Danny. Like I'd have all that stuff. I'd have, I'd have that. I'd have those big those inflating pads that you put your legs in. That
in the hotel room after.
Yeah, the air massage. I'd have those things. I'd have it all.
It's like you're an astronaut on the bed.
Those actually look pleasant.
I dropped you the link there, but yeah. I don't know. These look pretty ridiculous, but I could definitely see these becoming maybe a thing. So imagine just a pair of like workout pants, and they've got some like heaters built into them. I'm sure they've been around in some fashion. Maybe hikers use them. I don't know. Who knows? But yeah, $400. It's not cheap. So
I've seen stuff like that in the hunting stores.
Yeah?
Yeah. I mean, they've got them for people that sit up in, a stand or something trying to shoot Bambi.
Waiting for hours for like a moose to go by.
Yeah, they got all sorts of battery powered stuff, Danny. You don't have to go to. You don't have to go to.
They do.
You don't have to go to. You don't have to go to England for that stuff. We could rig a couple of things up at at the Bass Warehouse.
You go to Cabela's.
Oh yeah, we can get suited up.
So wait, Joe. I think the buried lead here is that you hang out in like hunting shops. I didn't know about this.
I just have a lot of hunters.
Did you just reveal something inadvertently?
I just outed myself, Danny.
Are you a hunter?
You got me. No, you know what?
Hanging out with Joe Rogan or what?
I deal with a lot of them. There was I was a big fat bike dealer back in the day. And about a year into the whole fat bike craze, I started to get a lot of hunters coming through the store because they'd seen these bikes out in the wilderness, and they thought it was a great way to get back into their blinds and stuff. And so they started buying fat bikes. Like I had a bunch of people that didn't ride bikes in the summer, but they were buying fat bikes to ride in the snow back to their, pull their deer out of the forest with. They were making little carts. They're very, it's a savvy. They're a pretty resourceful bunch. Like a lot of these hunters are also trades guys, so they were like making little carts and sleds to throw the carcass of the deer on and hook it up to their bikes and pull them out of the
Nice.
the woods. Yeah. So I mean, I was working with a lot of them, and I learned a lot about hunting gear at that, because I was I was trying to help them figure out ways where they to carry various things, whether they were hunting with bows and arrows. Some of them, did that kind of hunting, but other people had to put their guns on there, their rifles and things, and trying to, just looking through bike catalogs and seeing what could be kind of repurposed for their purpose. And so much so that Quality Bicycle Parts put out like started making a fat bike specifically for hunters.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think they teamed up with, I don't know if they teamed up with REI or Cabela's or one of the big hunting stores, but they actually started making a fat bike that was kind of marketed specifically towards people in the hunting game. Yeah.
I thought you were going to, for a second, say they're hunters like, yeah, shoot at those people on those fat bikes.
Well, in Wisconsin, it started becoming an issue because people were riding through the woods at that time. And people were getting shot at by accident, And,
like I was half joking, but no, this is like a thing. And obviously in hunting season, you want to have all the neon orange or, the reflective gear. And we all know what happened to Greg LeMond, obviously.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I think his brother-in-law accidentally shot him like with a rifle and he almost died. He had be taken to the hospital emergency surgery and
thought it was a wild turkey.
Thought it was a wild turkey.
Yeah.
Maybe he'd been drinking some wild turkey. Who knows?
Well, I think that
unbelievable.
Turkey
unbelievable.
Hunting. Yeah.
Unbelievable. So there you go. So heated pants for all those nerds out there. Another news, Joe, we have kind of a niche one here, but Strava now lets you instantly share your cycling activity on Snapchat. Are you on Snapchat, Joe?
I'm not on Snap, Danny.
I'm not either. I have an account, but just for work, because once in a while we do some Snapchat videos, but I don't really ever look at it. I haven't looked at it in months, but that is a new thing from Strava. So they have that out there. So if one is on Snapchat and one likes Strava, you can apparently automatically share there. I don't even know if they do that for Instagram, which is something I know we're both on, but
we're old.
There you go. Yeah, we're old school. We're all the old dudes on Instagram. Like, isn't that crazy to think that Instagram is now like the old school?
Are you on TikTok? Do you TikTok? Do you dance? Do you do any dancing on TikTok?
It's a private account. You don't want to see it, Joe. You don't want to see me. No, but
I have an account. I believe we try. I tried to do a Bike Shop Society TikTok, but I can't even. I don't even know how that app works. Like it's overwhelming.
It is. No, you're 100%. That's the key word, overwhelming. To be in all seriousness, I do have an account. Again, like Snapchat, I haven't looked at it in ages. I have one like that. Technically own one, but I don't really use it. But like. It's so overwhelming, the algorithm, it's all about these. It's obviously just video after video after video. And it's all like that evil algorithm is just so tweaked to keep you on it. Like 2 hours goes by, you look up, you're like, oh my God, I bet I'm like stupid. Looking at these dumb videos, your brain is just getting crushed. All the brain cells are evaporating. Like, I don't know. It's not my thing. It's very intense and it's weird because like some of it's like that guilty pleasure viewing. You're like, oh, like I can't stop looking at this. But then you're like, wait a minute, what the hell am I doing with my life?
I was talking to a friend of mine, and his dad got on TikTok.
Oh God!
So it was good. And he got so hooked. He said his dad was on TikTok for 3 hours straight.
Oh my God!
To the point where he was like to the point of exhaustion.
It's like YouTube on crack, YouTube on steroids, because like YouTube has an algorithm, obviously, and it keeps you going. But at least I feel with YouTube, the videos are longer. It's a little more selective, I would say. I feel like with TikTok, it's so like hyper. It's so frenetic. It's like you're kind of on crack, and it's just, I don't know. Obviously, I'm obviously not the candidate.
We're not.
Target market.
We aren't, but we, as a business owner, I do I have to pay attention to some of this stuff, right? And I do some research into it, and it's overwhelming when I try to. It's like trying to jump on a moving train. It's like, whoa, like where do you get in, man? How do you get on this thing? And it's just whizzing by. I got enough with Instagram and Twitter. It's like, geez.
Man, I'm trying to figure out analog books.
I haven't even figured out hashtags yet, Danny. Jeez.
I'm making the hashtag and then hashtag.
Yeah.
No, it's a little crazy. I'm not an alarmist. I'm not like freaking out about it. But what actually gives me a little pause is it reminds me of like when I was a teacher. So I was talking to these teachers tonight. But the idea is like, if that's what is keeping people's attention, like these like 7-second videos, 20-second videos, whatever they are, like, I don't know. I'm old school. I like to sit down and read a book. Mm-hmm. And so I feel like it's kind of tricky to live in a world where everyone's doing these like short videos, and I'm like, I don't know, reading long form journalism. I feel like I'm just like a reject in this world.
They say that the magic power will be concentration and focus, like in the future. Like if you have a little kid right now, if you have like a child that you're raising right now, if you can get them to focus and concentrate on things for periods of time, like they will excel in life. Because
they're going to crush it.
They're going to crush it because their contemporaries are not capable of doing a lot of that for, more than 6 seconds or whatever it is at a time.
And I know I sound like an old dog saying like, oh, the kids these days with their attention spans. There's that famous meme that went around, which is like people on a commuting train and they're all reading newspapers, and the idea is like, oh, this new technology is going to like destroy books or destroy conversation, and and then they compare it to like modern times, so with TikTok and stuff. But like, I don't know, man.
Well, here's one for us, Danny. Why don't we get on YouTube Shorts? That's a new thing. No, there is. YouTube's is doing shorts now to compete.
I feel like that's like mom jeans and like.
You look good. You look good in a pair of mom jeans.
It's like normcore, or like pulled up really high.
That'll be our first video. It'll just be you and me in mom jeans.
God,
that's a good audience.
I'll be in like my burgundy like minivan, like picking the kids up.
I'm not picky about who listens to us, Danny. If it's moms and jeans, that's great.
Bring them on. Bring them on.
Yeah.
So, Joe, I mentioned it was a little bit of a slow news week. I'll end with one thing I found, which I thought was somewhat interesting. These lists are always really interesting to me. In a way, I find them kind of meaningless, but I'm always intrigued. It's like I got to click on it. So
that's how they get you, Danny, a list.
Yes, and I'm a sucker. So People for Bikes, which is an org I think they do some really cool stuff. If people don't know about peopleforbikes.org, check them out. But they have a list, city rankings. So they have like their top cities for biking, and you can go in and see their criteria and rationale and all that. But do you want to take a guess, Joe, what their rate? So I'm looking at the rate. I'm organizing this list by ratings, and I don't want you to cheat and go to the website. But
no, I'm not going to go.
Do you want to just take a stab? It's going to be a little tricky. This isn't like a very obvious list. I would suggest, but maybe you'll know. But
U.S. cities?
Yes, U.S. This is U.S. cities. Oh wait, I'm sorry. Canada is included too. Our friends to the north are included. So think Canada and the U.S. So I will give you a little hint. There are 2 Canadian cities in this list, in this top 10. The rest are U.S. And there's 111 results, but I'm going to give you the first page. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So it's actually 9 in this. So of the 9, can you want to just take a stab at? And I'll just give you a second little hint. These aren't all like major, huge, giant cities. Like how they're defining cities, I haven't looked up yet. Clearly, it's not like, it doesn't have to be like a, multi-million inhabitant kind of.
We'll start with a Canadian. Toronto, right? I'm guessing.
Not Toronto.
Not Toronto. Huh.
No.
Then
not in the top 9, that's for sure.
Vancouver.
Not Vancouver.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
Montreal.
Montreal. Bing, bing, bing. Win, win, win. Montreal is in the top 10. They were number 8.
Number 8 overall. All right. And
yep.
Let's see.
I will just suggest, maybe you'll get it. The other Canadian city, I don't even know it.
Saskatchewan.
No, I know. See, I know Saskatchewan. I think it's. I've never heard of this place. So, for what it's worth, unless you're like really good with Canada,
no,
maybe.
that's it. I mean, you just Ottawa.
You're like, I'm done.
I'm just like, no, I'm just resorting to hockey towns.
Ottawa. So I will tell you, and excuse me, my friends who are French speaking or Canadian for my mispronunciation, but it looks like Gatineau. Gatineau, Gatineau, and over. it's in Quebec. Population 291, so almost 300,000, mid-sized city. So Gatineau is just under Montreal. So that was number 9.
It's a little obscure. I mean, this list.
Yeah, I had never heard of it. Which whatever. Yeah. Do you want to guess some of the U.S. ones?
Yeah, let's get back to America. Let's get back
America.
Detroit.
It's a nice guess, but it's not actually in here.
Oh.
It's not in the top 10.
I went for Detroit because I know they have a kind of a cool bike scene up in Detroit these days. A lot of cool things going on up there. Yep. Boulder, Colorado.
Bing! Good job, Joe. Yeah. Boulder is in the top 10. That is number 7.
Number 7.
Good job, Joe. So you got that. The rest are. There are a couple more Colorado towns.
Littleton.
Oh, that's an interesting guess. Littleton is not in this top 10 list. And there are a couple California towns.
San Diego.
That's a good guess, but not in there.
Our podcast is going to go like 6 hours.
I was going to say, this can go on forever. Do you want me to read them?
Yeah, why don't you? Because this list is a little obscure.
But it's totally unfair.
I mean, it's just kind of it's an odd group of. We can go forever. I mean,
you can go forever, but you did pretty well. I would say so. Number 1 is Provincetown, Massachusetts.
See, I would never have guessed that. Number 1. Wow.
Yeah, Provincetown only has a population of 2,730. In second place, Davis, California.
Huh.
Fayette, Missouri. Crested Butte, or Crested Butte, if you prefer.
Yeah,
Colorado, only 1,300 people. Berkeley, California. Aspen, home of a former non-Tour de France 7-time winner. Boulder, Colorado, Montreal, and Gatineau. And then the last one in this top 10 list, anyway, is, how do you say this? Ankeny, 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 Iowa. Population 62,000. So it all goes downhill from there. But if you want to see it, just go to People for Bikes. It's on their homepage now, so I think it just came out. They're flashing it up there. I haven't dug into the criteria, Joe, but I always find these lists just kind of interesting. They often seem quite random. Like Chicago often does super well. Like usually it's like number 1 or number 2 or number 3. I know bicycling loves Chicago for cycling.
Makes you wonder how bad it is in other places that Chicago is so highly ranked, right? I mean, it's like
it's like what are you comparing it to?
Yeah, I know. I mean, it's I've set up a lot of people back when I was working in the heart of Chicago, Lincoln Park, and commuting started becoming a thing. I set up a lot of people to ride their bikes to work, or people that wanted to ride around the city. And I remember the warnings that I would give them about riding in traffic.
The first warning, don't.
I'm like, man, are you sure? You better be careful, and the buses, and even because doing where the shop was. I mean, doing a test ride on Clark Street on a Saturday afternoon was, if you could make it back alive, I'd give you the bike.
Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine a more inhospitable environment to test ride a bicycle, because when you test ride a bicycle, you kind of want to focus on the bike, right? Like the ride and how everything's shifting and braking and accelerating and all this. Like, you don't want to be looking at other things. You want to be your ideal spot is like the lakefront or a parking lot or something. And yet you have Fullerton and Clark where it's just super busy. Even by Chicago, that's a very busy.
Very busy street. Very busy street.
Here, take this road. Hey, take this Cannondale road bike. Go ahead, fly around.
How do you clip in? I mean,
what are these damn pedals? What's going on here?
I remember showing people how to use SPD pedals and just holding them and pushing them into traffic. I'm like, just pedal.
How do you shift gears on this thing?
Oh man! Oh man!
Oh my God! No, you're right though. So it's kind of crazy, but yeah, I always wonder how they do those rankings.
Mm-hmm.
I always take them with a very large grain of salt. I think the only other last news item Joe had is your buddy Jay Vine, who I know who mentioned us in his Instagram story, didn't he? When Kate was on the show.
Yeah.
Did you hear? Did you hear he got signed to a new team?
Yes.
He's going from Alpecin to Kunik, which is the team he was on when he won the Giro, right?
Mm-hmm.
And now he is going to UAE.
Wow. Well,
I know.
Yeah, they're reinforcing their climbers. More help for Pogacar.
Yeah, we'll see how that works out. I mean, it could be interesting, right? Anyway, so that's really the last of the news that I'm seeing. I think the hot highlight there is those heated pants, Joe.
Yeah, those are definitely hot.
Keep an eye on your stocking this Christmas, Joe.
Yeah, it can't be good, Danny.
When you're in your shop in the middle of winter and you know that those the natural gas and heating prices keep skyrocketing because of inflation and global geopolitics, Joe, you might appreciate those $400 heated pants.
All right, Danny, if you say so, I might give them a shot.